My name is Nellie Gould. I'm 34 years old and a single mother. I didn't realize my family had been draining me until I saw where the money went that night. It wasn't the missing thousands. It wasn't the lies. It was a $190 pizza, boxed, untouched, for people who weren't even there, while my children were told not to eat. What if I've been paying for something that was never love? And once you see that truth, when you stop being the one everyone depends on, you don't just lose their approval, you discover who they really are. If you've ever been the one everyone depends on, answer me honestly. When was the last time someone asked how you were doing and actually waited for the answer? I am a mother of 2 children, a provider, a problem solver, and for 12 years I was my family's safety net. Not the kind that catches you when you fall, the kind people jump on over and over until it tears. It started small. "Nell, it's just $200. I'll send it back Friday," my sister Penelope said once, pacing in the background of a noisy call. Friday never came. Then my father. "Nellie, banks are being difficult again," Edward sighed, like the world owed him patience. "Just cosign, it's paperwork, nothing more." Nothing more turned into signatures that followed me like shadows. I remember the night everything should have changed. My husband, Matteo, stood in the kitchen doorway watching me transfer money on my phone. Again. "For who this time?" he asked. "Dad, property taxes." He let out a quiet laugh, not amused, defeated. "You paid those last year." They fell behind again. "And we?" His voice tightened. "Where do we fall, Nellie?" That question. I didn't answer it then. That was my first mistake. The second was pretending I didn't see what was happening. Bills piling on my side, requests piling on theirs. Gratitude? Nowhere. One evening, Isabel tugged my sleeve. "Mom, are we still going to the park?" I glanced at my phone. Another message from Penelope. "Urgent, please." "Not today, sweetheart," I told my daughter. Her face fell, quiet and small. That look stayed with me longer than any debt. Matteo didn't yell when he left. He just placed the house keys on the table. "I need a wife," he said softly, "not a rescue service." The door closed, and for the first time, I heard the silence I had been living in. But here's the truth no one tells you. When you spend years being reliable, you don't notice the moment you become replaceable in your own life. And I didn't know it yet, but the bill for that kind of loyalty was about to come due. There are moments in life that don't look like turning points until you realize later everything before them belonged to a different version of you. That night began like any other obligation dressed as celebration. White tablecloths, low amber lights, the kind of restaurant where the menu doesn't show mercy, only prices. "Stay close," I whispered to my children, Martin and Isabel, as we stepped inside, "and don't worry about anything." I said it for them, but I meant it for me. Penelope arrived last, of course. She swept in with a laugh, heels clicking like punctuation marks. "Sorry, traffic was insane." She didn't look sorry. She didn't even sit before flagging the waiter. "We'll do the truffle pasta, lobster risotto, oh, and the caviar pizza. Box it, my boys will eat later." I blinked. "They're not here." She shrugged. "Exactly, they get cranky in places like this." "But mine don't?" The thought flickered and stayed. Martin leaned toward me. "Mom, is this place expensive?" I forced a smile. "We'll find something good, okay?" Isabel traced the edge of the tablecloth. Quiet, too quiet. Then the food came, plates like artwork, and beside Penelope, 2 pristine boxes tied with ribbon. "Are those desserts?" Isabel whispered, her eyes lighting up. Penelope smiled, light, effortless. "No, sweetheart, those are for my kids at home." Something in Isabel's expression dimmed. And then my father spoke. "Why did you even bring them?" Edward said, not looking at me, looking through me. Silence cracked across the table. "To eat?" he added, smirking. Before I could react, he flicked a handful of toothpicks across the table. They scattered, sharp, small, landing near my children's hands. You should have fed them at home." Martin froze. Isabel pulled her hands back like she'd been burned. No one spoke. Not my mother, not Penelope. No one. And in that silence, something broke. Not loudly, but completely. I looked at my children, humiliated over $10 food, while a $190 pizza waited in a box for children who weren't even there. Tell me, what would you have done? Because in that exact moment, I stopped being their safety net and became something far more dangerous, someone who finally sees the truth. Have you ever felt the exact second your life splits in two? The moment where one choice decides who you'll be forever? It doesn't feel loud, it feels still. That's what I felt as the toothpicks lay scattered near my children's hands. I stood up. The chair scraped the floor, sharp, undeniable. Conversations near nearby tables faltered. For the first time in years, all eyes weren't on my compliance, they were on my refusal. I said, "Separate checks." The waiter blinked. "I'm sorry?" "By household," I clarified, steady. "One for them, one for us." Penelope let out a short laugh. "Nellie, don't start." "Sit down," my father said, voice low, dangerous. I didn't move. "I'm not paying for this table." There it was, the sentence I had swallowed 12 years. My mother leaned closer, whispering urgently, "Not tonight, don't ruin this." Ruin this? The words echoed like something fragile had just shattered inside me. "What exactly am I ruining?" I asked quietly. "The part where my kids are told not to eat?" Silence. Penelope shoved the bill toward me. "Just cover check and stop making a scene." I didn't even look at it. No, one word, but it carried 12 years of exhaustion. My father's jaw tightened. "You're punishing your family." I turned to him, then to Martin and Isabel. "My family is right here," I said, my voice softer now, but unshakable. Then I looked at the waiter. "2 orders of pork dumplings," I said, "for my kids." "Of course," he replied, almost gently. That nearly broke me. Not the insult, not the tension, but the simple dignity of being heard. "You're embarrassing us," my father said again, louder now. "No, I've been embarrassing myself." The dumplings arrived quickly, warm, fragrant, real. Isabel smiled, hesitant at first. Martin whispered, "Thank you, Mom." And that was the moment I knew. Not when I stood up, not when I said no, but when my children felt safe again. The checks came. My father slid his toward me. "Last chance," he said. I signed only mine. Then I stood, helped my children into their jackets, and said the most dangerous thing I've ever said in my life. "We're leaving." So let me ask you, would you have stayed? Or would you have walked out, knowing nothing would ever be the same again? You think the hardest part is saying no. It isn't. The hardest part is surviving what comes after, when the people who benefited from your silence declare war on your voice. By morning, my phone was vibrating like an alarm I couldn't shut off. 34 missed calls, dozens of messages. "You humiliated your father. Your sister is in tears. How could you do this on your mother's birthday?" Not one said, "Are you okay?" I set the phone face down. "Pancakes?" Martin asked, carefully, like he wasn't sure what kind of mother he'd wake up to today. "Pancakes," I said. We cooked together, flour on the counter, Isabel giggling when she spilled milk. For the first time in months, the kitchen felt like ours, not a waiting room for someone else's crisis. Then the phone rang again. I answered. "Nellie?" My mother's voice came, already heavy with disappointment. "Your father didn't sleep." "I did," I said. Silence. "You embarrassed him." "I split a check." "You know your sister is struggling." "I know she ordered a $190 pizza," I cut in. That landed. Then softer, sharper. "He wants you to apologize." "I won't." The line went quiet long enough to feel like a verdict. "Then return his card," she said. "I'll cancel it today." "You're being vindictive." "No," I said, steady. "I'm being consistent." I hung up before my voice could shake. Then I opened my laptop. One by one, I began. Cancel subscription, remove authorized user, close shared account. Each click felt like pulling threads out of a life that had been stitched around me without consent. Then I opened the emergency fund. Balance, $12.43. I stared. Years of deposits, gone. Withdrawn, quietly, completely. My hands trembled, not from shock, but from something worse. Recognition. This wasn't new. This was just the first time I was allowing myself to see it. I closed the account, and in that moment, something shifted. Not anger, not revenge, clarity. That night, a message appeared on my screen. Mateo, you okay? I stared at it for a long time. For once, I didn't protect anyone else's version of me. I think I finally am, I replied. And here's the truth no one prepares you for. When you stop being their safety net, they don't fall. They just get angry you're no longer underneath them. So tell me, would you go back to being the net, or finally let yourself stand? What if the life you were meant to live only begins the moment you disappoint everyone else? The silence after the chaos was unsettling at first. No urgent calls, no just this once, no quiet panic sitting in my chest. Just mornings. Mom, can we make pancakes again? Isabel asked, already pulling a chair to the counter. Every Saturday, I said, and this time I meant it. Martin watched me carefully. They haven't called. I know. Are you sad? That question caught somewhere deep. A little, I admitted, but not the way I used to be. Because sadness without exhaustion feels different, lighter. That afternoon, Isabel, crayons scattered around her, held up a drawing, a table split in two by a bold, uneven line. Us, she said, pointing to one side. I swallowed hard. And the other side? She shrugged. They didn't want to share. There it was. Simple, honest, final. That night, a message lit up my phone. My father. Come by Sunday. Bring the lawnmower. We need to mow the grass around the house. No apology, no reflection, just another request. My thumb hovered, then moved. No. I put the phone down and didn't pick it up again. Instead, I sat between my children, their laughter filling the room Mateo once said felt empty, and for the first time, it didn't. Here's the ending no one expects. I didn't get my old life back. I got something better. A smaller table, fewer voices, real love. So tell me, if you had to choose, would you keep being everything for everyone, or finally become enough for yourself? What if the life you were meant to live only begins the moment you disappoint everyone else? The silence after the chaos was unsettling at first. No urgent calls, no just this once, no quiet panic sitting in my chest. Just mornings. Mom, can we make pancakes again? Isabel asked, already pulling a chair to the counter. Every Saturday, I said, and this time I meant it. Martin watched me carefully. They haven't called. I know. Are you sad? That question caught somewhere deep. A little, I admitted, but not the way I used to be. Because sadness without exhaustion feels different, lighter. That afternoon, Isabel, crayons scattered around her, held up a drawing, a table split in two by a bold, uneven line. Us, she said, pointing to one side. I swallowed hard. And the other side? She shrugged. They didn't want to share. There it was. Simple, honest, final. That night, a message lit up my phone. My father. Come by Sunday. Bring the lawnmower. We need to mow the grass around the house. No apology, no reflection, just another request. My thumb hovered, then moved. No. I put the phone down and didn't pick it up again. Instead, I sat between my children, their laughter filling the room Mateo once said felt empty, and for the first time, it didn't. Here's the ending no one expects. I didn't get my old life back. I got something better. A smaller table, fewer voices, real love. So tell me, if you had to choose, would you keep being everything for everyone or finally become enough for yourself?
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.